long time. So, like I say, and I'll say it again, it bears repeating because it's true. You don't necessarily train Ryan Garcia, and people can take that negatively. You do train him, but on the other hand, you have to collaborate with him because he's got his ideas and his thoughts, and they ring true 99% of the time. So for a 24-year-old, he's got the mind of a brilliant coach as well. And this is why.
So Ryan trainer Joe Goossen said leading up to the Gervonta fight, you don't necessarily train Ryan Garcia. You more so collaborate with him because Ryan Garcia right now is almost impossible to beat. Now, if I didn't know any better, I would have assumed Joe Goossen was talking about Floyd Mayweather or somebody like that, not Ryan Garcia, because the way Ryan fought last night or last Saturday night against Gervonta, he had so many flaws and made so many mistakes that it was the opposite of him being impossible to beat. If anything, the way Ryan fought, it was impossible for him to win. See, the type of mistakes Ryan was making against Gervonta, there were so many that clearly indicated Ryan was making them same mistakes in camp for the Gervonta fight. So I'm not really sure what Joe Goossen is talking about when he said, you don't necessarily train Ryan, because you absolutely do. Nevertheless, regardless of Joe Goossen's philosophy, that's his business, to each your own. This is not what the video is about. What the video is about, when I made a video about Ryan Garcia team, his promoters, Oscar Dela Hoya and Bernard Hopkins, leaving Ryan Garcia behind, leaving him alone after he got knocked out by Gervonta Davis, showing him no support, being there at the highs but not the lows. If anything, Gervonta team and Floyd Mayweather showed Ryan more support at that point. I already made a video on that. I'm gonna leave the link for that video in the comment section below. Now on that video, a lot of people let me know you forgot about the trainer, Joe Goossen. He was also a no-show and showed Ryan no support after Ryan got knocked out by Gervonta. So at this point, I'm like, wait a minute. What club did they go to? What party are we missing out on that they wanted to go to so bad instead of showing Ryan support when he needed it most? We can all agree Ryan at the post-fight press conference, that was the lowest point of his life because he had never got knocked out before. Due to that, that's when Ryan needed his team support the most. From Joe Goossen to Oscar De La Hoya to Bernard Hopkins. Notice how the only people that was there was Ryan Garcia family and a Golden Boy employee. I guess Oscar, Bernard Hopkins, and Joe Goossen aren't family, right? Like, what's up with Ryan's team? Oscar, before the fight, he was talking about how Team Gervonta doesn't believe in him. They don't have his back. Then he disappeared like magic after Gervonta knocked out his fighter. So Oscar De La Hoya was talking about the man in the mirror himself after all. Now, Oscar was trying to justify his position of leaving Ryan alone by stating that he was receiving death threats all week long. That's why he didn't attend the post-fight press conference. But I could guarantee you, if Ryan would have won, I bet you $1 million Oscar De La Hoya would have showed up. You know why? Because Oscar has security. Plus, this is not Chirac. This is not the Ukraine. This is Las Vegas. This is a sport. This is an event. There's nothing like that going down. Oscar know it. We all know it. What about the trainer, Joe Goossen? Was he receiving death threats too? Because he was a no-show. Was he trying to escape the Matrix? Like, what are they even trying to tell us here? You even have Bernard Hopkins, who was a no-show. Oscar said PBC banned him from going into the ring because he had touched Gervonta. But PBC did not ban Bernard Hopkins from attending the post-fight press conference. He could have been there. However, he chose not to be there. Therefore, Oscar, Hopkins, and Joe Goossen, they don't need to apologize to the public, but more so, they need to apologize to Ryan Garcia himself. As a team, I mean, for example, Joe Goossen, he don't have to be family to be there. He needs to be there as the trainer. After all, he is part of the team. He was paid to be there. Usually trainers get up to 10% of the fighter's salary. So if Ryan made $30 million against Gervonta, therefore Joe Goossen could get paid up to $3 million for the Ryan Garcia fight against Gervonta. So did Joe Goossen leave Ryan hanging and went straight to the bank laughing? Where was Ryan's team? Again, they are not family. However, they are paid to be there. All of them are making money off Ryan, from Oscar to Bernard Hopkins to Joe Goossen. We all can agree, if Ryan won, they would have been the first ones to be there. They're gonna all want the attention, brag, so on and so forth. But as soon as Ryan loses, they all disappeared like magic. I was actually looking for Joe Goossen, Ryan trainer reaction to Ryan losing, and that's exactly what it was. Him disappearing like magic. He's nowhere to be found. You also have Bernard Hopkins. He said he didn't want to show up to the post-fight press conference because of the little beef he has with Gervonta's team. Well, Joe Goossen don't have beef with Gervonta nor his team, nor does Oscar Dela Hoya. So what's their excuse? Better yet, we all know if Ryan would have won, Bernard Hopkins would have been the first one there, regardless of his beef with Gervonta or whatnot. More importantly, Bernard Hopkins knows the more you F around, the more you find out. So if you're going to be about it, then be about it. If you cut like that, don't hide away when the smoke get hot. But what was the point of him going to Gervonta's team all the way to his side during the weigh-in to touch him behind his back and tell him, watch the edge? Because that's what Bernard Hopkins is claiming. Bernard Hopkins could have easily told Calvin Ford from Ryan's side, right next to where Oscar De La Hoya was standing. Bernard Hopkins could have told Calvin Ford, hey man, watch the edge. Make sure your fighter, Gervonta, doesn't fall off the edge. But we all know that was BS because Calvin Ford was the one that was closer to the edge than Gervonta. In order for Gervonta to fall off the edge, he had to push Calvin Ford off the edge first. Plus, if Gervonta was so concerned about Gervonta falling off the edge, how come he wasn't concerned about Ryan falling off the edge when they were both standing at the same location? He should have been touching Ryan, telling him, watch the edge, not Gervonta. But he went out of his way, pushing Tyson out of the way and everything in order to touch Gervonta. Someone that is not his fighter, someone that is not his concern. However, he was so concerned about him falling off the edge. Hopkins was policing people around like, that's not your job. But let's say what Hopkins said was true and Gervonta fell off the edge. So what? Rolly fell off the edge too. In fact, Tank pushed him off. If Tank fell off the edge, that would have been more beneficial to Ryan. As long Ryan doesn't fall off the edge, that's none of Hopkins' concern. However, clearly Hopkins' motive was to play mind games with Gervonta instead of having Gervonta playing mind games with Ryan by pushing him around or bullying him around during the weigh-in. Regardless of all of that, Gervonta knocked out Ryan, and everything Hopkins said and did backfired because when the smoke got hot, Hopkins, just like Oscar and even Joe Goossen, surprisingly, they all disappeared like magic. You know what they say, don't start nothing and there will be nothing. With the facts being laid out, drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe below and click on the notification bell to be continued on the next episode of Akhi, Akhi TV. Peace. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.